Hello and welcome back to the Rekt Capital channel, and welcome to today's video update about Bitcoin and the market leaders. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. It is a wonderful day when it comes to the crypto markets, to Bitcoin's price action. Ever since Bitcoin closed on the weekly above this level, this 7,250 level, it has rallied into an exponential movement towards the upside. And of course, this was a very key level in terms of dictating directional bias for Bitcoin, as we know that we saw 6 straight weeks of rejection from this level. And as long as Bitcoin were to keep closing above this level, we could still believe in a major low and still be potentially bearish on Bitcoin. But ever since we got this weekly close, it was the right thing to just switch stances and switch bias, because Bitcoin is now rallying exponentially into the halving with only 2 weeks away from the halving, with a price target of up to 9,300, which is the black diagonal of this triangular market structure for Bitcoin. And it was the right thing to celebrate this weekly close above 7,250 with a special giveaway, of a few discount codes to my TA course. So if you'd like to make the most of this discount code, it is bullish. The discount code is bullish. Bitcoin is bullish. We should be bullish. It is a great time to be in crypto at the moment. So feel free to make the most of this discount code. There are a few discount codes left, and pick up the course today. But let's dive into Bitcoin's price predicament. The 200 exponential moving average is this black line over here. It is representative of long-term investor sentiment, and the fact that we've seen a breakout past this black line, this 200 EMA, is a very good confidence indicator in long-term investors that they are becoming a bit more bullish about Bitcoin for the very first time since really early January of this year, because this was the time where we saw a breakout past this level to 10,000 at the time. This was a breakout in an uptrend. Of course, we can see here that Bitcoin is bouncing from the 200 EMA, but this was a downtrend altogether before that crash. But in any case, we've recovered the majority of what we've lost during this crash, which is pretty insane to say, given how the moods and the atmosphere in the market were only a few weeks ago. So it's really great news to just see such a recovery from Bitcoin, and to see it move above the 200 exponential moving average for the first time since early January is also a nice sight to see. Investors are becoming a bit more bullish as we approach the halving, and we have to think about this not only in terms of a fundamental sense. Of course, the halving is a fundamental shift in the Bitcoin protocol, but we have to think about this on a technical level as well. So we have to think about this in terms of the monthly range. So the monthly range is a range that I've been speaking to you guys for months, really, but we kind of forgot about it ever since we just broke down from this range, really. So this range has been a very good reference point for price, and it consists of 3 levels: the range low, the range equilibrium, and the range high. The range low is 7,770, the range EQ, the range equilibrium, the midpoint of this range is 8,500, and the range high is 9,300. And as you guys know from the previous video, the range high of 9,300 is confluent with this black diagonal resistance. So that's pretty interesting to note. But what we need to talk about here is that we've seen a break above the 200 daily exponential moving average, and this was a resistance that was confluent with what was a resistance when it comes to the range low. 7,770 was a resistance ever since we broke down from this range, right? So ever since we've picked back up, it was a resistance. It was confluent with the 200 daily exponential moving average resistance as well. But now that we've broken past this 200 daily exponential moving average, now that we've broken past this range low, we have officially broken back into the range. We've broken back into this monthly range, which is fantastic news because it makes Bitcoin's price a little bit more simple to just understand in terms of what it could potentially do going forward. And at the moment, we can see that Bitcoin has broken back into the range. It is occupying the lower half of this range, so 7,770 to 8,500. That's the lower half of the range, and we're going to see Bitcoin in this range as long as 8,500 continues to be a resistance. And that's probably going to be the next point where we could see some sort of rejection. Although if you just look back on price over here and to how 8,500 has behaved in the past, 8,500 isn't a consistent resistance. You can see it was rejecting price quite strongly over here, and over here price just really moved past it quite easily, but not without a initial rejection over here. So that's just something to bear in mind, that 8,500 is going to be that level where we could see a bit of volatility. But the good news is that we are back in this monthly range, and we are going to occupy the lower half of the range until further notice, until we see some sort of clarity in terms of the range EQ, whether Bitcoin gets rejected from there, or whether we see a pullback all the way to the range low. Time will tell, and I'll keep you guys updated with these videos. But to think about the monthly, because the monthly is just around the corner, a few days away. And the way to think about this is, of course, the monthly range once again, because it is a monthly range. This is the monthly time frame. But what we need to bear in mind is a new addition to this monthly range, and it's just a level to just pay attention to it. I don't know if it's going to be a strong resistance. We just have to know that this was a strong support in the past, in September and October of 2019. So it's going to be the first time really where Bitcoin is going to test this level as a resistance. Is it going to be a resistance or not? We'll see that in a few days once the weekly, or at least the monthly close comes by. We can see over here that Bitcoin is already peaking past this orange level, which is around $8,280. We can see that Bitcoin is already peaking past here. So the thing to bear in mind is, of course, the monthly close that is just around the corner. If we see a monthly close above this orange level, then there's nothing to worry about really, because that will probably mean that this orange level will become a support in May. And if Bitcoin closes below the range EQ over here, that could mean we might see a resistance from that level. But there's no need to come up with these different scenarios, because there are a few that we need to bear in mind. So I'm just going to wait for the monthly close before talking to you guys about what that monthly close will mean, because there are a few scenarios that we need to bear in mind going forward, and we just want that clarity once that monthly close comes in. But in any case, this recovery over here, this monthly candle, is on the verge of potentially engulfing the previous candle from last month, which is pretty fantastic, at least when it comes to the candle body, right? Because we see really strong wicks here, really volatile wicks. I'm talking about the candle body in this case. And if this candle were to close in a way that engulfs this entire candle body from the previous month, that would be really interesting. That would be very bullish. In fact, that would most likely be a very bullish event where we just see a bullish engulfing reversal candlestick formation on the monthly, a higher time frame. So that would be a very positive price development. But until we see a candle close, we can't say anything with certainty. We just have to wait for that candle close at the moment. But it does look like we are at the very least going to close in this range, which is great news, because a monthly close within this monthly range will just confirm a return to this range, and that will make things a little bit easier in understanding Bitcoin's price action as we approach the halving. So in any case, fantastic news for Bitcoin today, but I'd like to talk to you guys about the altcoin hype cycle, because the fact that Bitcoin is moving towards the upside and it's such a exponential movement, altcoin, at least the BTC pairings for altcoins have struggled, they've suffered. But having said that, the fact that Bitcoin is rallying strongly at the moment is a good sign, because that means that a money flow cycle is taking place. And of course, Ethereum and Litecoin, like we'll see in just a moment, Ethereum and Litecoin are rallying with Bitcoin together, and it's awesome to see that Bitcoin is starting this money flow cycle. The large caps are absorbing some of that money as well, and we're going to see capital trickle into smaller altcoins, which only ties in with the fact that we're in a moment where we have the lowest hype, we have extreme fear towards altcoins, and we could see a lot of hype come in as we approach the end of Q2, which will be around the end of June, beginning of July. But until then, we still have a lot of hype to enjoy, a lot of positive price action for altcoins, and it's just very important to understand that we are, for select altcoins at least, at a point of maximum financial opportunity, and that doesn't necessarily mean the market cycle bottom for an altcoin. It just means a local bottom for an altcoin. So we could see hype come in and we could see a strong relief rally occur on an altcoin before that altcoin actually makes newer lows a few weeks later. Whatever the case may be, is that we are going to see some rallies across select altcoins, and a lot of those altcoins will be altcoins that have really interesting fundamental analysis aligning with those technical setups. So those are a few things to talk about, and I might even make a webinar about altcoin cycles, altcoin hype cycles, and some altcoins that I'm going to be looking at going forward in the next few weeks. But in any case, an interesting time for altcoins, and that's something to bear in mind because we tend to forget about altcoins when Bitcoin rallies. But the thing is, when Bitcoin rallies, altcoins will benefit from that capital flow, right? Because the money flow cycles in a way where Bitcoin absorbs capital from investors adopt more of a risk-seeking approach and then trickle down their capital into large caps like Litecoin and Ethereum, and then this capital trickles down to mid-cap and low-cap altcoins, and low-cap altcoins actually cycle or at least rally near the end of their hype cycle, and that's something to bear in mind because that's the very bottom, that's the last stage of the money flow cycle. And I can talk about the money flow cycle in another video in a bit more detail, but for today I am going to focus on Ethereum, and truly this is a fantastic price development for Ethereum. We've been talking about this blue diagonal resistance line over here, and that a weekly candle close above this resistance would be great for Ethereum's price continuation, and that has definitely been the case. In fact, it is up over 30% since breaking back into the ascending triangle, this macro ascending triangle that I've been talking about on my YouTube, but more specifically and in more depth on my Twitter, ever since we were really just rebounding from this support level over here and we were seeing this morning star formation form. That's where I really started the thread and started talking about Ethereum on Twitter. But in any case, we've seen uninterrupted price movement when it comes to Ethereum, so that's something to bear in mind as well. But just to zoom in and break this down a little bit better, this blue diagonal over here was a resistance here, it was a resistance here, rejecting price, but over here resistance was actually breached. We saw an exponential rally towards the upside afterwards, and over here we actually saw a rejection and then later a breakout, but this breakout wasn't exponential. It pulled back to test it as a support, and now we're seeing the continuation over there. And over here recently we saw a dip, and this dip was merely a technical development to just turn 195 into a new support before rallying further, and that is what we're seeing from Ethereum. So it's a very interesting time for Ethereum. It is absorbing a lot of the capital flow from Bitcoin as one of the major players in crypto at the moment. So an uninterrupted uptrend at the moment, that is a lot of strength. We are going to be watching for any resistance going forward, but at the moment I'm just enjoying this uptrend. And because we're looking on the weekly chart, I am going to be focusing on how price reacts relative to this macro ascending triangle. And at the moment we've only just broken back into it and enjoying an uptrend inside this macro ascending triangle. So I'm not seeing any signs of weakness as of yet for Ethereum when it comes to this entire swing trade, and it could take a while before we actually see signs of weakness start to mount. But in the meantime, so far so good for Ethereum. Let's look at Litecoin, another large cap that I've been focusing on in the past few weeks, and these green circles are essentially just focusing on the weekly candle close above $40.80 and the pullback into this level to test it as a support, and of course the trend continuation that follows afterwards. And we're seeing that this is indeed the case, that history is repeating itself, and it's just fantastic to see this sort of price cyclicity when it comes to Litecoin. And when it comes to this resistance over here, the black diagonal resistance, that will probably be one target area to bear in mind once we see this trend truly manifest and truly turn into something exponential going forward. But at the moment, Bitcoin is stealing the show. It is the main character in this story, but we are going to see over time in the next few days, maybe a week, where Bitcoin could potentially slow down a bit to give a bit more space for smaller altcoins. Well, first, large cap altcoins to truly turn into something exponential. We've seen that with Ethereum already, right? We've seen that with Ethereum already. But when we look at Litecoin, this has been more of a slow burner, more of a strategic, slow, stable, large cap mover. And it's very important to have that sort of large cap role in your portfolio, that sort of stable gainer. But I do believe that Litecoin is going to turn exponential in the coming weeks, just to follow through on its historical price tendencies, where it just trend continues from $40.80 support. But in any case, large caps are gaining steam. They are gathering some steam. And as Q2 approaches, we're going to see smaller altcoins really gather some steam as well. And since we're seeing this exponentiality in Ethereum and Litecoin, that exponentiality could be much more pronounced in smaller altcoins. But that's a topic for another day, guys. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, please consider dropping a like, of course, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm Rekt Capital, and I'll speak to you in the next one.